Hi, Julie.
Hi, Dan. Today's professional development will focus on one of our best practices, facilitating online discussion. My name is Julie Macrina, and I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Falls Church City Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Dan Coast, and I'm the IB Diploma Program Coordinator stationed at George Mason High School.
FCCPS has created a reopening plan for the fall of 2020 per guidance from Virginia Department of Education due to the COVID pandemic. In this plan, Falls Church City has identified the best practices for teaching online instruction as students may receive synchronous and asynchronous instruction. We will be focusing on facilitating classroom discussions. However, much of this information we discussed today can be applied in a face-to-face setting in addition to an online setting. We will focus our learning in teaching and facilitating academic discourse and modeling expectations.
So in Falls City, we had a little experience with this. From mid-March to early June, we jumped into this new arena. And it was a learning curve for many of us. We did a stakeholder survey to see what was working well and what wasn't. And one thing the stakeholder survey came and said to us was, one is the online discussion boards, the online learning was most impactful to student learning. It also showed to us that we didn't really have enough of it. Certainly with this new normal, with the fall coming in, we're going to see a lot more distance learning being a part of the school day for our kids, and we must understand the importance of it and helping them learn.
So John Hattie did quite a bit of research on the influence of classroom discussion, and he developed a way of synthesizing various influences in a different meta-analysis where he looked at the effect size. And in this study of visible learning, he ranked 138 influences that were related on learning outcomes, from a very positive effect to very negative effect. So he states that an effect size of a 0.2 may be judged to have a very small effect, where in fact as something as large as a 0.6 or larger have significant positive outcomes. Well, when we look at classroom discussion, it is ranked at a 0.82, which is in the actual zone of desired effects. Classroom discussions allow students to improve communication skills by voicing their opinions and thoughts. Teachers also actually benefit from classroom discussions as it allows them to see if the students have learned the concepts that they were being taught. And then moreover, a classroom discussion creates an environment where everyone can actually learn from each other. So you might ask yourself, what actually is academic discourse? Academic discourse encompasses the idea of dialogue, the language used, and a format that facilitates a high level of communication in the classroom. It's the way we talk in education world between students and teachers. There are 6 teacher discourse moves that can help strengthen students' reasoning. The first is to help student clarify his or her thinking by providing some wait time. 20 to 30 seconds after a response, you might say something like, "Can you say more about that?" Or "Can you show us what you mean?" Next is make an idea public and available for discussion. You may need to revoice and connect everyday representation to more precise academic language. Tell us more about what you're thinking. Third, emphasize a particular idea. "That is interesting," you can say, and maybe could you say that again to us? Will you retell your idea? Fourth would be to help students listen carefully and think about each other's ideas. You may say, "Do you agree or disagree? Whose idea is most different from yours?" Fifth, help students deepen their reasoning. One question may sound like, "Will you tell us more about your thinking?" And finally, help students apply their thinking to others' ideas. We want to prompt our peers to talk. Who's ready to tell us a connection between the 2 ideas that we just heard and yours? Next, we're going to see a video by Mr. Singer. Josh Singer is a ninth grade world history teacher at George Mason High School. He will share with us some of his experiences when facilitating classroom discussion.
In their initial posts to the questions, I would identify and highlight either statements that were great or evidence that were great, or if they had the whole package, the whole package. And then additionally, in their responses to each other, I pushed them to go beyond cool, great job, I love what you're doing, right? And to like specifically mention something that they either agreed with, that they disagreed with, or that they appreciated the insights of a peer. And they grew in that regard over the course of our distance experience.
Yeah, thanks for that, Josh. Thinking back to our first slide, we were given guidance from Falls Church concerning academic discourse. And there were 3 charges in that opening statement. The first was we need to teach students how to have academic discourse in an online environment. So let's take time at the beginning of the school year to explain our expectations of what an online discussion looks like, how it works, what it sounds like. We should have procedures for asking and responding to questions that are clear and the students understand. It's also good practice to have, in advance of the lesson, your agenda, your objectives, and some guiding questions that will lead the discussion that you'll have with them online the next day. In fact, modeling expectations, let's listen to this guy over here and see what he has to say about that.
Anyways, what we do teaching in an online environment is really not that different than what we do in a face-to-face environment. For example, it's always good practice to call students by their first names. It's always good practice to validate responses and bring other classmates into that response so that you're engaging them as well in the topic at hand and getting them to collectively get to a better response to the question that was posed. The online format does have some unique special features we need to pay attention to. So for example, in this slide, notice I'm present. I'm the teacher making comments to a visual that I have on the screen. Asking students to write down responses to a question I may ask is also a good practice. Yes, there's a little quiet time, but a little downtime in an online format to have students engage with the question before they're asked to respond is a good thing. Remember, all their pictures are up on screen as they process the answer. And so giving them a chance to process before putting them on the spot is always a good strategy as well.
Hey, we've heard from me twice on this slide. Let's go to the next slide and listen to Lindsay Sheldon. She is a special ed teacher at Thomas Jefferson Elementary.
During the time that I did have groups, I always try to start with what's been the best part of your week, what's been the hardest part. What's something exciting you want to share, and then focusing on the little things too. It doesn't have to be like this massive thing that's happened in your life. It could be had my favorite meal yesterday or something like that. And so having that as a base for them to socialize and connect with each other and find those similarities, like, oh yeah, I did that too, or I did something similar, and being able to have a little bit of that socialization through there. And then the other aspect where I had my students talk a little bit more was I did a novel study with one of my groups. And so they were able to chat a little bit more about the book together. But that part was definitely more of a challenge, especially because it was all about with a tighter schedule and seeing so many students and trying to make sure that every student got as much teacher time as well as small group time. The student-to-student discussion did have to be actively facilitated, and it didn't come as naturally as it may have in the classroom.
Okay, so we learned about teaching academic discourse and modeling those expectations. Well, next is facilitating that academic discourse. And here's 4 important things to keep in mind when you are facilitating. We really want to work on soliciting that engagement and giving students the opportunity to answer questions. So framing your questions in an open-ended way that could allow for the discussion to evolve is helpful. Also, we would want to provide visuals in that. Many times when you have a visual prompt up on that screen, it might spark a student to add a little bit more to the conversation or bring something new to into their thinking. The third would be to go ahead and create those objectives for your online discussion prior to the lesson. That just really helps you stay focused during that synchronous learning and make sure you're hitting those goals that you wanted to achieve throughout that lesson. And what we want to do is always try to direct or guide our students to respond first to their peers. When necessary, you may need to intervene to provide an appropriate answer, but always give the students a chance to engage with each other. That helps to provide that discussion a little bit more rich and deep within their peers. So next, we're going to be watching a short video clip that our students are going to be able to give us their point of view from a virtual classroom setting.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm glad you got to class early today. While we wait for class to start, how's everybody doing? Jason, what's new with you?
Nothing much. I've been staying inside because of quarantine.
I don't really have one at the moment.
Okay, keep your options open. Eliza, you playing softball yet?
Yeah, we started practice a couple weeks ago. It's been going well so far.
Great, great. Looking forward to see you out on the field playing again. Hey, so before the rest of the class joins us, I sent that survey out last week asking what you liked about our online discussions. You guys gave me some great feedback for improvement, but you also had some really good things that were happening. And Sam, I like some of the things that you had put in the survey. Do you want to share with the group now something you like particularly about our online discussions?
Sure. I like how you give clear expectations for what we need to be prepared for before we meet for class.
Yeah. I always wondered if you guys find that to be a drudgery to have to do work before we start, but I think it makes class more focused. What about you, Eliza? You have some great insights.
I know how to ask questions and when to respond to other people's questions. I especially like the chat feature because I can ask questions while other people are talking.
Yeah, and I hope we do a good job getting back to those questions from anybody, when somebody else has the floor, because it shows that you're engaged with what's happening, and I love to be able to see those questions flow in, even if you're not having screen time at that moment. How about you, Jason? What do you like about our online?
I like it when you acknowledge my answers, even if they're not always perfect.
Yeah, well, all of us, our answers need to be collectively improved, I think, as we work together. But there's always an element of good in everybody's response, right? We do research, we listen to experts, trying to find the best techniques for how students learn in an online discussion format. But I would contend students are our experts. They're our resident experts. They know what's working well for them. They know what helps them learning. They know what you're doing well or what you're not doing so well. I would argue that it would be good practice for all of us to survey our students early in the school year. Ask them, what is going on in our online discussions that's working well for you? What could I do to improve on the way I'm structuring the online discussions? What are other teachers doing that really resonates well with your learning style? And we learn from each other. We have to be risk takers, of course, in an IB world school, and putting ourselves out there to find out how we can improve is a good measure to help our students maximize their learning in these online discussion formats.
Thank you, Dan. So as we are watching these professional development video clips, we know that some of these topics and ideas may be just confirming what you already do. Maybe that you're gathering some new ideas from all of this too. Either way, what we're asking is that we have an implementation commitment. And so what we're asking that after watching all of your professional development videos, that you will commit to providing online discussions that actually promote interaction and academic discussion. And by doing that, it will enhance our students' experiences. During this upcoming year, we will definitely be doing a deeper dive into some best practices, and we look forward to your input and suggestions.
So Julie and I would like to leave you with one last inspirational thought. This quote here was written by John Dewey. He died in 1930. Certainly in his lifetime, there was no remote learning, distance learning, virtual learning, but it's certainly present today. And it's going to be more so as we move into the fall and the remaining of that school year and beyond. So his words still resonate today, that we all still can find new ways to teach our students in new platforms. It's what's expected of educators. And Julie and I have no doubt that Falls Church City Public School teachers will rise to this occasion, and our students will too. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.